Hey guys, this is Marc Goldberg from Marc Vlogs Watches, and no, this is not a dead hamster. It's actually a windscreen for the lavalier mic. I gotta get a smaller one, but this is what I got for now. Okay, today we are here to talk about two watches. Let's call them in the $5,000 range. I think we're reasonably close there. And we're gonna talk about which one of these two is the better value and my thoughts on each. You already know from the title, we are going to be comparing the Omega Seamaster SMP 300 with the laser cut dial and the latest iteration of the Tudor Pelagos with the in-house movement. Now, which one of these guys will I be wearing for the quick fist watch check? That's the real question. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way now. Bam! Quick fist watch check. Quick favor, guys, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do that. It helps me so much to see my numbers trickling up, and I want to do this with you again. If you're a long-time subscriber, thank you so much for being with me. And in a surprise move, I'm wearing both watches, pulling a Fidel Castro, or now I look a little bit like Marc from Long Island Watches. Okay, so guys, the Tudor Pelagos, I've had this for a few years, and in fact, I want to say it's the first watch that I ever reviewed on my channel, so I'm going to put a link in the description here to the review of this watch. And when you see it, me and my little tidy white gloves, you'll have a good laugh, because I've kind of come a pretty long way between then and now. Okay, so I'll link this up. But this is I've kept this in the collection. I've flipped a lot of watches since I reviewed this one, but I've kept it. It is, for me, it is a keeper. And we have to talk about this one. Now, this one I got from exquisitetimepieces.com, and it's slipping my mind where I got this one. This was from a local authorized dealer. I will put them right here. Okay, guys, which one of these watches is my favorite, but more importantly, which would be your favorite and why? And where really is the value? What are the relative costs, and how are they retaining value? So this is what we need to talk about right now. We're going to go through the specs on each watch and the bracelet and dial and bezel and all like that. We'll compare the aesthetic, we'll take a look at the prices, and then we'll reach some conclusions in terms of where's the value, where's the beef. Okay guys, let's turn this camera around and take a look at these two watches so that we can get into the meat and potatoes of this video. Well, here we're having a look at the width of the Pelagos, and it is 42 millimeters wide. The Omega, also at 42 millimeters wide, gives you wrist presence without being overwhelming. The lug width is 22 millimeters, and it is about 50 millimeters lug to lug on the Pelagos. The Pelagos bracelet tapers down to 18 millimeters. The Seamaster has a 20 millimeter wide lug, which I think gives it a bit more flexibility if you want to change out straps. But as you can see here, the Omega doesn't taper at all. The bracelet is 20 millimeters all the way down. Although the Pelagos is not crazy thick at 14.3, it's substantial, and you definitely know you're wearing a dive and tool watch. The Omega Seamaster is a little more svelte, measuring in at 13.6, and it does feel a bit slimmer on the wrist, that's for sure. Also, the lug's turned down, so it's a snugger fit. Rendered in titanium, the Pelagos weighs in at 143 grams. The Seamaster weighs in at a more substantial 178 grams. Having taken a look at the specs, we know that these guys are fairly alike in some key ways, specifically in size, although depending on the angle from which you are viewing the watches, I sometimes think that the Pelagos looks bigger, and I'm sure that's an optical illusion just based on the way the bezel is laid out. But just sometimes it looks bigger to me, but in reality it's not. Now we do have to contend, let's just knock this out of the way. This is the Helium escape valve. It is a manual Helium escape valve on the Omega. You would just twist it open. In this iteration, you can use it underwater. It's for saturation diving. It harkens back to the 60s when people decompressed in diving bells. It's useless. So right away in this matchup, I have to prefer the automatic Helium escape valve. Look, Tudor's so proud of it, they literally label it gas escape valve. But The fact of the matter is this one is automatic, so it doesn't protrude. I don't care if it's there or not. This one, I'm sometimes tempted to take a hacksaw, and just cut it off. I will say, though, eventually, and pretty quickly, you get used to it, and you sort of start to forget that it's there, and that's a good thing. Okay, now, this guy is titanium, so it is a bit lighter, but it's still quite a substantial watch because it's big and thick. But it wears easily. This guy is a little bit thinner, it's steel, it's a little bit heavier. Now, they're both spectacular dials. This one is a blue matte dial, but depending on the light, that blue is either a little subdued the way you're seeing it on camera now, or really bright, just depends on the natural light. And of course, we have a blue bezel here, and we have a chrome laser cut dial with blued hands on the Omega, and that makes the Omega, notice as I turn them both a little in the light, the Tudor Pelagos, its look doesn't change so much, but the look on the Omega is constantly shifting and changing. So to me, the Pelagos emulates more of a tool watch, and this guy here, the Omega, it's a flashier watch. So this one to me says more like a car salesman. As soon as I said car salesman, I realized that came across pejorative and I didn't mean it to. Car salesman like Mercedes-Benz or a junior executive. This one to me says more like computer programmer, accountant. No, that's not fair either because, accountants sometimes wear bow ties and are flashy. I don't know. Like the owner of the HVAC company, okay? He's not out there typically turning a wrench, but he's dispatching 20, 30, 40 trucks, and he's a rugged, tough guy. Now, in theory, these are both rugged watches. This one is good to 500 meters of depth, the Pelagos, and this one is good to 300 meters of depth, but for all practical purposes, neither of them is going anywhere in my world except into the bathtub. Crown guards built in on both of them. I gotta say, I do like the taper a little bit better on the bracelet of the Pelagos, but I like the light steel color a little bit better of the Omega, and I really do like the interplay between the brush surfaces and the high polish here on that 5-piece link. Now, the clasps on both of these watches are terrific and yet different in their own way. So we'll put the Omega down for a moment and focus on the Pelagos clasp. Both of them are adjustable. We open this guy up. We do have, got to find it, here is the Helium escape valve. Just push here. I'm sorry, not Helium escape valve, the diver's extension. So I push that open and I have a nice milled out diver's extension in, I always have trouble closing that again. There we go. And yet it is still adjustable by pulling down a little bit here on this part of the bracelet and then moving it up or back. Now, if we get it beyond this third position, you see that those little dots there. What that's telling you is you're getting into the spring-loaded position. See those springs? They will just automatically allow the bracelet to expand and contract along with your wrist. Super handy. I usually leave it in either the second or third position or all the way out so that it can expand and adjust. This is really helpful if you're going in and out of air conditioning on a constant basis. It has ceramic ball bearings for the closure, and it is super secure. Okay, so very industrial looking, not real finished looking, very industrial, metallic. It really serves the tool watch aesthetic of the overall watch itself. But at the same time, the lines are kind of refined. So, and with this brushed titanium look, it's not blingy and in your face. So I find this laid back, industrial, toolish, and really, really pleasing to the eye and certainly a pleasure to wear. Now the clasp on the Omega is also brushed. They are a little bit more in your face with the logo. Double deployant pusher. There is a dive extension here also. Once again, I find it a little difficult to pull out. You notice it's much thicker on this one than it was on the Tudor. which I like. I think if you're going to put it in there, stick it in my face that it's milled out, not stamped. But here is the way here is the way. See that little button that says push right by my thumb? Trying to focus. It says push. And if you do push and then you pull the clasp out, you'll notice you have in and out, and it's incremental. Okay, it's in little tiny ratcheting increments, and what this allows you to do is to dial in the exact right fit on your wrist, and you can do that certainly for both of these clasps. They just happen to look a whole lot different one from the other, but they are both incredibly adjustable. So I think if you prefer a slightly dressier look, the Omega is your clasp, and if you prefer a more industrial toolish look, then the Pelagos is your clasp. Now the next thing that we have to talk about is bezels, and I'm going to give you a preview. The clear winner in the bezel department, I don't feel like there's a clear winner in the clasp department, but in the bezel department there is. I'm going to let you hear this. It is a 60 click. It is super definitive. And when you get it back up around to the 12 position, it wants to stick there. So it just kind of detents harder at the 12. I'm going to let you look at this while I bring the Tudor all the way up to my microphone and let you enjoy the incredible sound. Now I will put that back. You can see that it's getting wet. I'm filming in the rain for you guys. This is how hard I work for you people. Okay, this bezel also is ceramic. This one is ceramic and it's shiny, high polish kind of a finish. This is ceramic matte finish. So they're both ceramic, scratch proof, all like that. But the turning action here, disappointing. You know, it's 120 click. It's very precise. I will give it credit for its incredible lineup. Slightly harder to grip due to these scalloped edges, but in prior iterations of the Omega Seamaster, Omega got many criticisms because people just could not turn the thing, so they lightened the turning action up on this variant of the watch, and now it's easy to turn, but I would say it's a little too easy. The click, let me let you hear it. I don't know, the click just not as satisfying. So I really can't deduct any points from the Omega for having a bad bezel because it certainly does not. But I gotta say the Omega just kind of has a spectacular bezel, so I've got to give it a little bit of an edge there. Now we got to turn these guys over because we're going to talk about casebacks and movements almost in the same breath. And a warning in advance, I'm not a movement expert, but I can tell you this much. The casebacks are wildly different on each of these guys because the Omega has this really incredible display caseback. This is a coaxial movement. It's extremely accurate. Mind you, the Tudor is COSC certified and this is METAS certified, which means that it in theory runs a little better even than COSC. I want to say COSC is like +4, -6. I'll put it in the comments because I don't remember exactly, or I mean I'll stick it in a title right here, right? But this guy here is -0, +2, or +4. Yeah, +4. I'll put that in the titles too. But what I'm telling you is this guy here is guaranteed not to run slow. If anything, it's going to run a smidgeroony fast. You can see the balance wheel doing its job there. It's going to run a smidgeroony fast, which makes it a ton easier to correct it when lining it up to a known reference time. And it has a specialized and proprietary hairspring, which is utterly magnetized proof. Anyway, this is gorgeous. It's decorated, it's machine decorated, not hand decorated at the price point where we are, but it's certainly well done. Now the Tudor is quite plain, not as plain as a Rolex. Rolex, of course, being the sister company of Tudor. Nothing to look at here. Well, not much anyway. And in terms of the movement, this does have an in-house movement. It is Tudor's own movement. get these guys facing the right way. This is Tudor's own movement. This has a 50-hour power reserve. This has a silicone hairspring, I'm pretty sure, so it is very magnetism resistant, whereas this one is even more, this is magnetism proof, magnetism resistant. If I'm wrong about that, tell me about it in the comments. But the power reserve, not that power reserve makes a movement necessarily better or worse, because this has some really unique features, terrific movement, but this has a longer power reserve, 70 hours. And I find that really helpful if I take the watch off for the weekend. Sometimes I have to restart that, and this guy here lasts because of that 70-hour power reserve. So, case back goes to the Omega and probably the movement too, but power reserve is going to go to the Pelagos. Well guys, we know that half the reason we like dive watches is because of the Lume. The Tudor Pelagos on the left wins in this category due to its superior bezel, which is completely illuminated, and the Omega on the right has fantastic lume. Look, it has to be stated, the Omega does have excellent lume, but you can see that it has skeleton hands and therefore it is a little bit harder to read at night. Guys, which watch do you prefer for illumination? On the left, certainly it has a more tool watch look, and on the right, the Omega has a more refined and more modernized look. So I think this is personal opinion. Tell me, which one of these do you prefer? Ironically, we know the measurements of both watches are the same, but look how much bigger the Tudor Pelagos on the left looks just due to its illuminated bezel. So the Omega certainly looks more compact, and I think some people are going to prefer that. Well guys, I have gone on, and yet I think that there's still more that I could say. This guy here, I will put up the retail price. And I will put up the retail price here. Now, I managed to buy this right before a $350 price increase. So I got a slightly better deal on this. I think you'll find that these are available on the used market. The Tudor Pelagos has been around for a few years, so it's available in the black variant and in this blue. And you will find it used, new $4,400 or so, and used you will find it for maybe $1,000 less. Whereas these are really hard to find now on the used market. They're pretty new. Introduced at Baselworld 2018, and they're not really on the used market yet. Will they hold their value? Will they drop a little bit? Time will tell. We don't really know. So if you prefer the look of the tool watch, it's the Tudor. If you prefer something that is, I think, a little bit more versatile, it can dress down, but I don't think this is ever going to look right with a suit. Maybe the black one would, but I just don't think the Tudor, it's like a tool watch. I don't think it's going to look quite right with a suit, but I think that this is more versatile. So I have to say, as much as I love this Tudor Pelagos, this for me, this is a keeper. If I have to say which is the better value, I think it's this one, because if you're going to have the one true watch, even though this one is more expensive, the Omega is more expensive, you want to be able to go to the beach in shorts, but you also want to be able to go to a meeting or a wedding in a tuxedo or a suit. And I think that this guy, the Omega Seamaster, it makes up for its higher price with a great deal more flexibility and versatility. Look, these are just my opinions. Honestly, I love them both. This has been a keeper in my collection. I think this will be. Time will tell. I would like to talk with you in the comments about what do you think about these two. It's not the same money, but it's not the same look, not the same movement, not the same material even. Tell me what you think. And in the meantime, this is Goldberg. Peace out.